Make conversation with a stranger every day. You'll be amazed at how much you learn and how it then becomes second nature so that when you're at a networking event, you don't feel nervous.
Elegance, empowerment, influence, all rolled into one. Sara Jane Ho is the founder of China's first finishing school. Her mission: to turn etiquette into a bold tool for self-expression, confidence, and connection.
If you say etiquette school in the West, people think rich girls walking around with books on their head. Now, if you said it in China, it had the opposite connotation. I had to change a billion people's image of what etiquette was.
Why do you think still not everyone's doing it?
I think the world has moved to a more casual world. We've hit rock bottom, and now there's a renewed interest in it.
What's everyday etiquette mistake we're all making?
Not
You're bringing traditional Chinese medicine.
It's very important to take what makes us healthy and happy in our culture and bring it to the rest of the world. Whether it is through etiquette, whether it is through feminine care, it's about helping women with their confidence.
Sara Jane, amazing to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Hilary, for the very kind introduction. It's an honor.
Well, when we first met, there was always this idea of etiquette, of what you should. Emily Post, for many of my listeners, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Then there was the terrific movie, Pretty Woman, that came out where Julia Roberts made every mistake, right? I still remember when she was doing the snails and they, flew through the crowded restaurant. What made you want to get into this line of work? What started it all with the most significant relaunch?
Well, the beginning of my etiquette career was in 2012 as I was graduating from Harvard Business School. And I knew I wanted to go to mainland China and I wanted to do something of my own. And at that time, China was going through a very interesting, it was at an inflection point where it'd risen out of poverty, right, across the timeline of 30 years from isolation and poverty to being the second most influential country in the world, second to America, second to the States. And you had all these people who had newfound wealth, but they wanted to know how to move through the world a little bit more gracefully and confidently. And at the same time, I grew up in Hong Kong with my mother really as a role model for me. She was an incredible hostess. She would bring people together. She would create these warm and magical moments in our home through entertaining. And I lost her when I was 21 years old to cancer. And my life really changed. My home went from being bustling and warm to very lonely. My father didn't entertain in the same way, nor did my stepmother, who he remarried very quickly. So I realized what if I can combine what I thought was a business opportunity, with continuing my mother's legacy. And I'm a Sagittarius, so I also love bringing people together. So combining it with a passion of my own. And so I packed my bags after Harvard Business School and moved to Beijing and opened my etiquette school.
First off, my heart goes out to you. I lost my mom to cancer as well, and it was sudden and it was awful. And I can only imagine if she had been gone from my world when I was so young. So I really, the connection there when we first talked is something really incredible. And as you were venturing off, and I kind of had this like Mary Poppins moment in my mind where I was thinking about you and, here you're going to do this, you're going to go off and you're going to be exploring this new area, this etiquette school. You had been to your mom's incredible parties. And I remember my mom's parties too, when she had these, beautiful, crazy dresses. This was in the 70s. So dress that was actually pants. She was a little ahead of her time, but tell me what happened once you really started to develop. How did you, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are thinking, wow, I've got ideas, but how do you make them and turn them into reality?
It's funny. I never had a formal business plan, which is funny because I graduated from Harvard Business School, right? I had a to-do.
That is really interesting. That is super interesting, Sara Jane. It's giving people a little bit of like, okay, good.
But I kind of had a vague to-do list. I moved over there. And my dad, was calling me, checking in on me. He's like, are you out there? You need to just teach workshops. I was like, but I still haven't got it completely figured out yet. My dad was like, listen, and this is one thing I learned at Harvard Business School as well. Your strategy can be defined or emergent. Defined is when it's like perfected before you go to launch, or it's emergent where it's like, tech companies, version 2.0, 1.0, 2.0, right? Like your strategy emerges after you launch. He said, you're just, you have to get out there and start teaching workshops first, and then you refine your strategy. He flew over to check up on me because he was a little concerned. Every time that my dad came, we would look up an old tutor of mine. He used to tutor me in Mandarin. She lived in Beijing. She was a professor at Tsinghua University. And we were all having a meal, and my Mandarin at that time was really not very good. I grew up in Hong Kong on English and Cantonese. And Mandarin and Cantonese sound as different as German and French, to give you an idea.
Mhm.
So I was trying to explain to her in very broken Mandarin what I was trying to do. And she looked at me, she said, your Chinese is not where it needs to be for you to do whatever you're trying to do. How about this? I'm going to send students from Tsinghua University to your house. You give them free etiquette lessons. They help you correct your PowerPoint and your teaching notes. And
That is
so,
so great.
yeah, and so for 3 or 4 weeks, I had students traipsing over to my apartment. I'd just have it on a white wall, my projector, and I would be teaching them the art of British afternoon tea. And whether you put in milk first or sugar first, or whether you put on clotted cream first or strawberry jam first on your scone. And you can imagine their faces. They were like, these like electrical engineering students or whatever it was. Brilliant, brilliant students, because this is like the hardest university to get into in China. But they were looking at me like, is this girl crazy? And I was looking at them being like, am I crazy? But hey, after a few weeks, they helped me perfect my teaching notes and my PowerPoints. And then I did the best thing to do, which was to memorize everything, right? That's how you learn a foreign language. And just wrote memorization to the point that you could say British afternoon tea, slide 6, and I just drop in. So the language barrier was one thing. The other challenge I had was if you said the word etiquette, which is li yi in Mandarin, people like if you say the etiquette school in the West, people think rich girls walking around with books on their head, right? It's like very elegant, elevated, etc. Now, if you said it in China, it had actually the opposite connotation. People would think like, oh, it's not elegant, it's not elevated. It's like people saying that they're rude, and it's more like like sort of service stuff, so in restaurants. And one guy even told me it made him think of like naked car models, like at a car show,
Oh, no.
like
So
sort of
really,
like
truly the opposite.
draped out, like half naked on a car. So I had to change like a billion Chinese people's image of what etiquette was. So that was like my second big challenge. So what I did was I put my school in the most expensive address in Beijing, in the Park Hyatt residences. This was back in 2012. I hired the sous chef away from the French embassy. He was my in-house chef. He was making foie gras and like escargot and all those things, like fresh pastries every day for our students. I partnered with very expensive brands, whether it was furniture brands or porcelain brands or clothing brands, to really provide that like utmost luxurious experience for my students, like where they would walk in and just feel like the sense of elevation. So that was my second big challenge, and then I managed to sort of overcome that, and I think I was very lucky, sort of right person, right place, right time, where I grew up in Hong Kong. I'm the right mix of Chinese and Western, and then China was at that time 2012 very open to the world, and every single luxury brand, over 50% of their revenues were coming from China. Every single Michelin chef had an outpost in Shanghai, right, or Beijing or wherever. Chinese people were
Mhm.
sending their kids to boarding school, emigrating, tourism, everything. So I was very lucky where the time was right. And then for that following decade, I really rode that wave. And then now, actually, as China's turned more inward, right, due to COVID, due to Trump's policies towards China,
Mhm.
and China's now more isolationist. Uh, I've actually I've taken advantage of my Netflix show to help me pivot and spend more time out here now in LA, and where I spent the last decade of my life bringing international etiquette to China, I'm now bringing Chinese culture and healing and wellness and medicine to America.
And we're going to get there, but I got to go back to etiquette for a second. So, when you are thinking about, people and how they come to you, who are, and it's millions and millions, but who are the ones that you find the most interesting and unexpected that are trying to elevate their etiquette?
Yeah, well, we have four types of customer profiles at our school. And the first customer profile is the first wife. We've all watched First Wives Club, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm,
and in China, the first wife, she was generally speaking, she was a couples entrepreneur with her husband. So, they grew up during the Cultural Revolution, very difficult time in China. People were just struggling to like put clothes on their backs and food in their stomachs. But they also, by the time like China opened up and had economic reform in 1989, that's when they were in their 20s or 30s. And as long as you worked hard and you were sort of like somewhat entrepreneurial, you could really make it. And so oftentimes, the wife and the husband, sort of the husband was out in front, like doing all the deals. The wife was in back doing the accounting,
mhm,
doing the operations. So that was her. And but remember, like, so she's probably not very happily married.
mhm.
She has like two kids, one who's 20 and the other one who's 12, because China
Wow.
had the one child policy for a very long time. And if you wanted to have more than one child, you had to pay a lot of expensive fines. So the couple's entrepreneur, they woke up one day, they're like, wait, we have all this wealth. We have our heir. Now we need our spare. Let's hurry up and have like one more kid. So they usually have two kids, big age gap.
Yeah.
She's not very happily married. He either has a mistress and even a separate family, or they're divorced because, I mean, like they've both changed so much, right? And she grew up a time where like there wasn't SPF, right? You weren't taking care of yourself back in that day the way that women like in China take care of themselves now because they have the money, because they have all those opportunities. So
Mm.
that's the first wife. And so she usually, she maybe has taken a little bit of a beating in her own confidence. She's not very happy, or she's not happy with her marriage. Either her friends or her daughter, or maybe she's newly divorced, tells her like, go to Sarah's school, go work on yourself. So that's the first wife. So the second customer profile is the second wife. So usually it's like the husband of the first wife, right? He's divorced, whatever, and he has a much younger second wife who's usually born in the 80s. And at this point, she's young, she's beautiful, she's slender, she's using SPF, right? She like takes care of herself, and she absolutely worships and adores her husband because she never had to work with him, right?
That's true. That is a true point right there.
And she has two or three kids with him, young children. And she's so in love with her husband. He totally spoils her. She comes because she wants to be the best mother to their children, because she knows that their children will very likely go to international school, will study abroad in the West. And so she feels like she wants to keep up. And also she wants to be the best wife to her husband. So, she comes. The third customer profile is the businesswoman. She could be married, she could be not married, but either way, she's got her own business going on. Maybe she comes from family wealth, but she's like, buying NFTs and like hustling this and like figuring out that. And she's very like commercially savvy. She knows exactly which other student is driving which car. She'll be like, oh, she's driving the Bentley SUV. Oh, she's like doing this. And she comes because she wants her daughter to exactly walk in the footsteps that I walked in. She'll be like, how do I get my kid into Phillips Exeter Academy? How do I get my daughter to be a competitive show jumper? How do I get my daughter to be this? So that's why she comes. And then our fourth customer profile is the daughter of the first wife, right? Because remember, the first wife is probably in her 50s and 60s. Her daughter's college age or above. And so her daughter either heard about the school, usually read about it, and really just begged her parents, like, please, 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 I want to go to the school. Or the daughter's a bit tomboyish, and the parents are like, we need to like polish her a little bit, make her a bit more elegant. Okay, we found out about Sarah's school. Let's send her there.
This is fascinating to me because I don't know why I did this with my three kids, but when they were young, I sent them to etiquette school. And people were like, "What?" And I said, "You know what? They will never be embarrassed ever around a table, around entering into a room, what to do, what not to do." And even my mom said, "It's so interesting. Do you feel like you missed out? Like, did we?" I said, "There are times, yes, where I'm like, I don't know. Am I supposed to have my soup and scoop away or scoop two? And do I leave it in the bowl? All these things." And so it got in me. And all three, my son and my two daughters, went, and they still can recite different poems, different ways to do things. They know exactly the bread plate, the where the drink goes. They know everything around it. I'm like, but why aren't we doing this as a young age with kids? Sometimes we have cooking classes and things like that. Why do you think it is still kind of like not just readily like everyone's doing it?
Yeah. Well, I think the world has moved to a more casual world.
Mm.
And to be honest, a lot of these manners things are brought down from the parents, right? Actually, a mother is the singular most important person in a child's life. So your children are lucky enough that they have a mother who cares about this and made sure that they got an education in it. There are a lot who don't. I mean, it's like if you look at like Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
Yeah.
etiquette is not like where food is. It's sort of, it's like the last thing.
Yeah.
So, you feed yourself, you clothe yourself, blah, blah, blah. And then like respect and manners are sort of like the last frontier. Uh, of course, I wish that more people would actually, I think that what's interesting now is that as the world has gotten more casual, and I feel like we've hit rock bottom. If you look at like violence, right, around the
Mm.
world, if you look at like social media bullying, all these things, and now there's a renewed interest in it, just as of like these last 2 years.
Mm.
And after the whole COVID isolation, kids are really suffering these days. They haven't been normalized. They haven't been socialized in the same way that
Right.
we were because of
Yeah.
being out of school for a couple of years. Uh, and so I think there's a reason there's a revival now.
There definitely is, but I'm going to ask you this. What's one everyday etiquette mistake that we're all making? And what can we do to instantly change that?
Not smiling upon eye contact. It's
Interesting. So
it's so
people,
easy, especially if you're in your community, whether that's in your
yeah.
workplace, walking down the corridor, even if it's a different department, right? Or if it's the cafe that you always go to and you always have the same teller, or if it's the building you live in and you see a neighbor in your community,
Mm,
so long as you make eye contact, just smile.
that's a good one. I read something where you are called the millennial Mr. Miyagi. For those that haven't seen the Karate Kid recently, Miyagi was
I was called that.
yeah, I read it. And so I'm going
I
to
love
ask
it.
you, yeah. So if you could give midlife women one etiquette challenge for a week that they would do, what would it be?
Uh,
That they would work on?
make conversation with a stranger every day, like just one new person every day. Doesn't matter if it's the cleaning lady in the bathroom of your office, or the guard, the security guard somewhere, or someone sitting next to you on a plane, or your Uber driver.
Mm.
Initiate conversation once a day with someone new. You'll be amazed at how much you learn, the connection you feel, and how it then becomes second nature, so that when you're at a networking event or when you're speaking to somebody important, you don't feel nervous.
That's I love that one. Now, my husband would say, Hilary, you don't have this problem, but I really think it's important. And once you start doing it with one, then start doing it with more and more. So, everyone out there, give it a whirl. Now, before we move off and into the traditional Chinese medicine, I'm a tea drinker. Milk, sugar, milk, which comes first?
Well, usually you put in sugar first while the tea's still hot so it melts. Because if you put in the cold milk, it won't melt as quickly.
Ha ha ha. Any other tips for etiquette that are the ones that you're like, hey, these are my top three that I always give?
Um, let's see. There are so many. I would say, oh, here's a fun one. Okay, so when table seating at a restaurant, right? Always give your guests the seat with a better view.
Mm,
Right. So if let's say you're
yeah,
at a banquet and one chair is like facing the wall, the host
yeah,
should take the worst seat and give their guest the best seat.
it's a good one. All right. So as we move into you're bringing traditional Chinese medicine to the States, what was the first desire to do that? What made you say, you know what, it's time?
Well, it happened all very organically. In my Netflix show, Mind Your Manners, which came out in 2022, It's a makeover reality show. So you can think of it as Queer Eye, but instead of five gay guys, it's me, one Chinese girl doing the makeovers.
Uh-huh.
And because I grew up in Hong Kong on herbal remedies, it's very much part of my DNA when I'm trying to help people. I'm being hired to help people say like, oh, you look like you have this. Like, go to my acupuncturist, or go drink some herbal soups, or go do a foot soak. And then also when I'm at people's houses, like I just pick up on the feng shui straight away because I grew up with feng shui masters running around my house.
I love this. I'm right now
And
taking Marie Diamond's Feng Shui course. I'm in.
yes,
Mhm.
yes. That's great. And so um, in the Netflix show, I'd go to my students' homes and I'd say, oh gosh, you have a mirror reflecting on the bed. No wonder you're not in a relationship right now. If you have a mirror reflect on the bed, it means that the third party is interfering in your relationship.
Oh, I have a mirror reflecting on the side of the bed, but it's an antique, and I can't put it anywhere else because it's all windows. I got to check into this.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
that's
can't
a good one.
you can't unhear it, right? What you can do is you can put some pretty wallpaper, like sticky wallpaper over it or something.
Okay,
You know,
I got it.
yeah.
I got it. I'm doing something. I'm making a change.
And so I just kind of like peppered these bits just very naturally into my show. And as the show was aired and I was getting all these DMs on social media, I'd be like, whoa, like so many of the questions every day, I was getting multiple questions saying, your show opened my eyes to Chinese culture. Please recommend a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, just like the one in the show. I live in Orlando, Florida. And I'd be like, this is fascinating. So this was sort of percolating in the back of my mind. And then around the same time, a good friend of mine, Annie, her name's Annie Ho, no relation, we're friends. She went into early menopause at the age of 35 because she had endometriosis, and doctors gave her hormone shots, which threw her into early menopause. And as a result, she lost a lot of hair. She suffered from major vaginal dryness, which turned to vaginal itch. And she tried everything, like until nothing worked until one day she had a vaginal massage with a traditional Chinese medicine cream, a TCM cream.
Mhm.
And she finally found relief. And she was talking to me about it. And she said, but this is not sustainable. I can't go do this every day. I was like, you know what, Annie? I was like, you're probably not the only woman suffering from this. I'm passionate about Chinese medicine. Your family business is Chinese medicine. And she's Taiwanese. I was like, as international Chinese women, let's do something about this and take what makes us healthy and happy and bring it to the rest of the world. And so
Okay, before you go on, first off, I have never heard of a vaginal massage.
I know,
I've
right?
heard I've heard of the creams, and certainly I am finally not in perimenopause anymore, only in the last few months. Hallelujah. Pop the champagne. I'm so excited. But yeah, interesting. So tell me a little bit more about this. So it's a massage and they put cream on, and who's doing this? Is this a woman at like a massage studio? I mean, how does this happen?
It's like a vaginal spa. So in Shanghai, because that's where Annie was having it done, and in fact, there are quite a few vaginal spas out there. Even in New York City, there's a place called V Spot, and a lot of women who are like after having babies, so they're postnatal. Everything's kind of destroyed down there if you give birth naturally. And you're a little like looser and all those things. And then women, as we age as well, right? Every part of our body ages. So women who want to maintain themselves down there or need help down there, they go to these vaginal spas. And for Annie, it was yes, it was like a clinician who was applying this for her.
That is insane. Okay, so sorry to go
Right?
off on a tangent, but there are so many new ways to help yourself down there. And I did hear about one that, as you just said, when things start to just like gravity, things start to pull down, even like the lips are not as full, right? And I'm not
Yes.
talking about your lips on your face, it's the other lips that get skinny and they start to like, they start to look
Very
like a man,
thin.
it happens. So it's interesting. So you two joined together. And this is another
Yeah. So
fabulous, fabulous relaunch, by the way. Relaunch into the health space. It's like amazing. I love this. So keep going with this story.
So I quit Annie. I convinced Annie to quit her job. She was president of Diesel Jeans Asia Pacific, managing multiple
Yep.
countries and hundreds of people. She quit
Great
that.
job.
We then spent 2 years developing the formulation. It's all made in Taiwan. Taiwan has actually preserved a lot of the most traditional ways of TCM and herbs. very clean herbs. And then we launched a year ago in the States. It's called Antivorta. So these are the products, and we have wash, wipes, and sprays for down south to fight odor, dryness, and irritation. And everything is made with traditional Chinese medicinal herbs. In fact, our base formula is called 五味消毒饮, and it is translated means like the 5 herb decoction to eliminating toxins. And it's been used for over 2,000 years in China as a skin medicine for wound healing. So it's really good as a natural antibacterial and for skin cell regeneration. And
So is
so,
this only for down there, or can we
oh no, no,
use
no,
these wipes
this,
all over our face as well?
yeah.
Is it everywhere?
So the formulation was used as a drink, as a tonic. We like altered the formulation and we put it into feminine care. What's funny is we initially just made this for like down there. Our customers were leaving reviews on our website saying they loved it so much it got rid of their back knee, like acne on their back. They use it on their face. They use it sprays under
That's what
arms.
I'm thinking about. For sure. And they use tell me about what they're using the spray for.
Well, the spray you spray down there, it's to soothe any irritation or dryness. They also use it under their arms as a deodorant.
Oh, that's so great. Why do we get so dry down there?
Well, so it's about hormonal imbalance. And think about it, as we age, the skin on our face gets dry, right?
And try living in Colorado. Boulder. I'm like I'm like a raisin after I came back from New York. Jeez.
Yeah,
Okay, so yes, skin all over
so
gets
skin
dry.
all over. And so for our wash, it's very hydrating. We put collagen in it too. And it just leaves you feeling soft, clean, and fresh and not sticky. So, our customers, we have a very high repeat customer rate. They really love our products.
And it's also, as you said, it's these herbs that you're putting in. What are some of the ones that you're like, these are the best for women down there, here, supplements? What do you think?
So traditional Chinese medicine, it's not about any single herb. It's about the formulation, the combination of the herbs and what they do. So for the base formula that we use is a combination of wild chrysanthemum flower, Chinese violet herb, dandelion, semi-egg root tuber, and so it's a formulation that is what is so powerful. Uh, if you look
Mm.
at, so for example, for me, like in something I do every morning is I make my little TCM herbal drink. I use due to my rice cooker. I do everything in my rice cooker.
Ooh, love
I
that.
have um, I have red dates, so jujubes. I have goji berries, and I have sliced ginger. And I just these 3 things, pop them in, like boil for 20 minutes, and I'm sipping on that like all morning.
Okay, when are you going to create the tea packet that I can then put into my tea in the morning? Come on.
Yeah,
I got
we'll be
you.
working on
I got you. Sarah Jane, you got to keep going here.
it.
What is next for you? What's the next relaunch?
Um, so right now we're working on traditional Chinese medicine supplements,
See,
hormonal supplements. Yeah,
that is so
because
great.
a lot of our customers are having issues with hot flashes, with night sweats, which is really a hormonal imbalance. And so Annie, who's our chief formulation officer, that's in the pipeline.
So what about testosterone? What's your read and your take on that?
You know, there's so estrogen, testosterone. There are a lot of studies previously done that have now
Mhm.
been debunked. A lot of women are taking testosterone now, like they're encouraged to in menopause. But you'd be surprised, like only 5% of women in menopause are actually taking any kind of hormones. A lot are still very careful and cautious about hormones, and I can understand
Only
why.
only 5%?
Yeah, yeah. So
Wow. I think it's because
HRT, like
yeah,
hormone replacement therapy, only
sure.
estrogen, only 5% of women are actually taking it now. Uh,
Well, I think because of that, was it 2002 or right around then when the study came out? And I don't think that there's been a big enough push to say, hey, wait a second, that it was wrong. Now we've got to be doing other things. But you're recommending a more natural approach.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
I got to tell you that again, with only 5% doing even, all of the synthetics and things like that, I'm excited for what you're working on because I do believe women are stepping up and owning their own, what we're putting on our body, right? Like even the lotions and making sure that, we realize how much of the things we put on actually get absorbed. What are your biggest reasons that you're so passionate about this right now?
Well, for Annie, it's a really personal story for Annie, and she's one of my closest friends. For me, I feel that Chinese medicine is about prevention. Western medicine is about fixing symptoms. I, grew up on Chinese medicine. Even to this day, I get my acupuncture 3 times a week to stay regular for my period. I do cupping, I do foot soaks, I take Chinese herbs, I do moxibustion, I do all these things. And so for me and Annie, it's very important for us to take what makes us healthy and happy in our culture and share that with women around the rest of the world, but also have a dream where we can create a Chinese brand, like a Chinese beauty brand, that resonates with women in New York, London, and Paris, right? That is in every woman's shower cabinet, that is accompanying her for all stages of her life, like whether she's on her period and so she uses the wipes, or whether she, feels dryness, irritation, so she's using the spray, um, and so that that's more of what drives us.
You know what I love? I am big on finding great products, curating, a really solid list, and then sharing it with others. And as you and I were talking, and we were supposed to get together in New York, and unfortunately, we had that tragedy happen with my brother that we couldn't meet. But one of the things I'm super excited about at our event in September, Relaunch to a Rich Life, it's a live event, is showcasing some of your products. I'm really excited to have people be able to touch and feel and smell and, see that. And so I thank you for being a part of that. And I'm excited to see the direction of where you're going to take. Will you still do etiquette? Is this still a big passion for you? Or are you going to be like the Sir Richard Branson of your generation? I think that there's something here, Sarah Jane.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's something I ask myself every day. I feel it may seem like, oh, because she's doing etiquette and then she's doing Chinese medicine. But to me, it's aligned because it's about helping women move through the world more confidently. So whether it is through etiquette, whether it is through feminine care, it's really helping women with their confidence and really bridging East meets West.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe like we can expand into different versions of ourselves. I've been doing etiquette for a very long time, for a decade. I'm ready. Like I want to learn more. I want more personal growth. I want to do something where I can expand on that and have more of an impact. And to me, that really is bringing the wisdom of Eastern medicine to the West because it can help so many more people.
Sarah Jane, how can people find you, find these incredible products?
Our website is antivorta.us. So that's ANTEVORTA.us. And my Instagram is Sarah Jane Ho. So Sarah without an H, SaraJaneho. And I have a link to Antivorta on that as well.
Thank you again for being here and for enlightening us because it is so important in the relaunch journey to hear about the next generation, where things are going, and what we can expect from the influential people that are making a difference. So, thank you again. And for those listening, we will have all of this in the show notes. And as I always say, you got to live now, love now, relaunch now into your best health. And that includes taking care of all areas of your body. Take care, and we will be back again next week.